Counting you down.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
We are in week 9. This is crazy. Class is flying by. Before you know it, man, you'll be on to another class. How many people are enjoying menus right now? By show of hands. I'm not seeing a lot of hands. I see a couple. Okay, I'm seeing a few more. All right. Well, to go along with your menus class, like I said, most of the stuff we've been talking to you guys about over the last couple of weeks, getting your menu item descriptions and everything on point and fine-tuned, that all should fit in. What we're going to talk about today, though, is probably one of my favorite things, preservation. Now, this is broken down into 2 different sections. This week is preservation produce. So please make sure you are paying attention to any substitutions, any alternatives that we give you, okay? Because it will help solve any questions or any problems that you might have over the weekend when you're doing this. So, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen and jump into this. All right. Preservation produce. Now, the farm to table kitchen, as you can see, there's a lot of good little things here. We got some pickles. Everything's pickled baby onions. We've got some baby corn, and we got regular pickles. All right. Preservation originally developed out of necessity. All right. Because what have we been talking about last couple of weeks? Seasonality, right? So if you got something that's not in season, but you want to be able to use it later on, tomatoes, which now you can get tomatoes anytime, but back in the day you couldn't. So you had to can. How many people had grandparents that used to can foods? How many people had parents that used to can foods? That's what it was for. It was based out of necessity. My grandmother had a room, which, I mean, basically we could go in it, but it was like, you really couldn't go in it because it just had, that's all it was jars of, mason jars. Like, what in the world is this? What is this? Oh, that's pickled okra, I mean, she had everything. If you could pickle it, she would pickle it. So seasons dictated which foods were available. Sometimes nothing grew at all. Or storing food for long journeys, harsh seasons. My grandmother used to send us a box every year. She used to put foam in there, and in that box, fragile was written all over the box, taped well. Of course, postal system was a little bit better than it is now. Nobody's just throwing your stuff on the porch. So, and we used to get these jars of different things. So now we use preservation techniques for changes in flavor and texture. So basically for your canning, you're going to place the product in a glass jar, place a sealable lid on top, which is held on by a tightening ring. You're going to submerge the jar in boiling water. This is if you're canning. This is not what we're doing this week. Okay, if you want to, though, that's on you. But you would submerge the jar in boiling water for a specific amount of time. High heat kills a number of potential contaminants, bacteria, anything that could make you sick later on. Now, if you do, if you happen to open one of those jars and something doesn't smell right, seal the jar, because botulism could creep in, and that's something you really don't want. As the contents cool, air is removed from the jar, which helps prevent the growth of bacteria. Sealed jars block outside contaminants. Sanitation is absolutely key to the canning process. Jars and lids have to be sterilized, which means you basically just take them and you boil some water and you just run them around so that you take everything out of them. Anything that could be, any contaminants that could be in there. Contents must be at a certain acidity level. Also, the canned foods must be kept cool, dry, and as I said, like my grandmother's room, in a dark place to prevent spoilage. Pickling. This is pretty much what we're going to be doing this week. A little bit of both. It enhances the flavor of a product, alters the texture, and preserves the product. Yours actually isn't going to be sealed long enough. But some people might hold on to it, but I doubt it. I can almost guarantee anything you pickle after that first bite, it's over with. Now, some people might want to prove me wrong, but have you proved me wrong yet on much? Especially if you do. Cucumbers are a wonder, but I've had classes where people pickled carrots and lost their minds. Produce is submerged in vinegar solution for a period of time, varying on size and amount. The acidity of the vinegar prevents undesirable bacteria from growing. As the food releases its natural water into the solution, it absorbs the flavors present in the vinegar solution. So it pickles it. The vinegar solution used or being used can vary in vinegar, sugar content, and pickling spices. Now, you're going to follow the basic recipe, but when you get out there and you start, some of these recipes, you're going to want to, as I hear so much, you're going to want to make on your own. You can use other vinegars. You can use, you can add a splash of balsamic. You can, use apple cider vinegar. You can use regular vinegar. I mean, there's so many different vinegars out there. Fermentation. Okay, so how many people have ever had kimchi? And I mean real kimchi. It alters the flavor and texture of produce by allowing bacteria to convert sugar to lactic acid, which ferments the product. Now, I remember the first time I saw somebody making kimchi, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Until I actually went to Korea and actually had real kimchi. Then I was like, okay, I'm hooked, because it has to be made right. That's all I can say. It alters the pH level and makes the product inhospitable to bad bacteria. Kimchi, which is typically cabbage, brined and rinsed, then covered in a chili paste and other ingredients, is allowed to sit for a number of days, weeks, or months. For most people that I know that make kimchi, it's at least, well, if I'm visiting, it's only going to be a few days, possibly a week. But for the good stuff, if they have it, it's been sitting for a couple of months. Pickles, which is what you're going to make. Cucumbers are submerged in salt brine with added spices or herbs and then left to sit at room temperature. Key thing there, room temperature, until the desired acidity level is reached. Sauerkraut, same thing. And this one is the one that always seems to get people. Cabbage is salted and allowed to sit at room temperature until desired consistency and taste is reached. Please pay attention to the sauerkraut recipe when Chef Catherine reads it, because the recipe works if you follow directions.
We have come to the right place.
Somebody needs to mute.
Trying to find whoever it is. Yeah. Got it.
Yep. All right. Oh, I don't think I went too far. Jamming. Making jam. And I'm going to tell you, this is the one that gets everybody. This is the one where I hear so much, and I know Chef Catherine's heard it so much. It's old hat, where I'm never buying, and I'm telling you, I'm going to hear it. I'm never buying jelly or jam again, because you want to make your own. Sugar draws the water out of foods to prevent microorganisms from having a hospitable environment. You don't want it to thrive. Jellies are the juice of the fruit that is set with sugar and pectin. Okay, here's the thing. Pectin, it's another one of those things that people don't put in the right place in stores. So please search for it. Every store has pectin. Even if you think it's out, somewhere in that store, there's pectin. I've actually seen it over by paper towels. I've seen it in some of the craziest places because people don't know where to put it, okay? Pectin is better than anything else that you can use, but Chef Catherine will touch on that in a little bit. Jams have crushed the small pieces of fruit with less sugar or with sugar and less pectin. Marmalades contain small bits of fruit, usually citrus, orange marmalade, grapefruit marmalade, I'm not a fan of, but plus the rind, sugar, and sometimes pectin. Preserves have a whole or small fruit or cut pieces of larger fruits with sugar and even less, if any, pectin in it. Drying, without water, bacteria cannot survive, can't spoil the product. Oldest preservation technique, basically, if you've had beef jerky, you've had something bright. How many people have a food dehydrator? Yes, I still have a food dehydrator. You can make anything from, oh my God, what's the fruit roll-ups? Love when I see people at the store buying fruit roll-ups, and it's like, get yourself a dehydrator and make them yourself. They're better. They're pretty easy to make, and you don't have to worry about all the preservatives in there. Oldest preservation technique requires little to no equipment, but is usually done with the help of a what? Dehydrator. Can also dry produce by placing it on a rack, on a sheet pan, in a low oven. Now, some people have been having problems with their oven, so low for you might be 150 or 100. Depending on location and climate, produce can be just be set outside to dry. I guess if you live in Florida or down in Mexico, you could do that. Small produce can be dried whole raisins, but larger produce requires slicing. So like apples. Pectin can be found with canning items, jars in most stores. That's what I mean. So if you go to Dollar Tree, which is what, $1.25 tree now, all of a sudden, the tree got more expensive, I think. If you look over by the jars, you'll find the pectin, which, like I said, it's in weird places in the store. So look in different places. Cuts of cucumber determine the length of time needed to reach a pickled texture and flavor. And remember, you want these things submerged. So make sure you're measuring it against the jar or, whatever you're pickling it in. Berry jam volume will decrease a lot during cooking. So if you're looking to make a lot, you have to buy a little bit more than you think you're going to need. All right. Any questions on preservation?
We got one question about what is a dehydrator? I'm just going to pull up a visual. It is basically a small box form box with multiple trays, perforated trays that allow you to do, and it's the really, really low temperatures as opposed to lower than what your oven is going to be able to actually maintain.
Little small, it's basically, to me, it's like a small fan that's just blowing low warm air through, and it's literally drying whatever you put in there.
Exactly.
I've made beef jerky in them. See, so mine is like the first one.
This one's a little bit more fancy.
This is the fancy.
Exactly. That's a super fancy one. You get the old school one, plastic.
That's what mine is.
Super standard. As you can see, these temperatures, right? Lower than what you can really moderate on an oven, starting at 95. I've seen ones that go down to about 75 as well. And then it's just exact, Chef said, you've got a small fan in there that's circulating that low temp air, and it just slowly sucks out all of that moisture. Those prices are in Mexican pesos, Norman.
Yeah, calm down, Norman. Norman's like 3,000. That's 3,000 pesos. So,
yeah.
I'm not sure what the conversion rate is.
It's about 20 pesos to $1 currently.
Okay, so
150 bucks.
Norman's like, oh, he's like, okay. Norman, you got
100
a
to
question?
150, you can get one.
So I had a question about like deer jerky. So like I've seen it made. I've had it I think one or two times. So like I don't. Is it made like so like can you like after you like trying to figure out how to say it while saying it? So like you put it in the oven, right, and then you dry it. Like, can you put that? I don't know. Like, how would you go about drying that to
Okay.
preserve it like beef jerky?
So for deer jerky, for beef jerky, you're probably going to use, like you saw the little temperatures, different temperatures
Mm-hmm.
on the dehydrator. You're probably going to use a higher temperature for deer jerky because there's things in deer jerky or deer meat that you're going
Yeah.
to want to make sure are dead. Beef jerky, I've done as low as like 110 on mine. I wouldn't really do 95. I mean, anything you do, you want to do it 110 or a little higher. But I've never done deer jerky, but I would definitely probably say I would put that on 160 without a doubt.
Okay.
That would probably be the highest.
I've seen it done in an oven before, and it turned out like kind of like I guess if you put like a meat in an oven and then dried it,
Yeah.
it was kind of tough. I guess that's how, which I know that's how deer meat is because it's tougher than cow. People say.
Well, what makes it not tough is what you marinate it in. Or not that it doesn't make it, not as tough, but you want to marinate it. And that's the other thing. Marinate it for a good amount of time. Don't just do, and I used to hate this. I had a friend that, do the quick dip. No, let it marinate. The only thing that, if you're making fruit roll-ups, then yeah, you can puree it, whatever, just pour that right in there. And it's good. Something like meat, you want to get, add some tenderizer, Worcestershire sauce. You wish this video I saw this week, wash your sister sauce, which was the craziest thing I had ever heard. But you want to, let that marinate. I say no less than 24 hours. Let it marinate. Then take the strips out, let them drip a little bit, and then put them down. And best beef jerky ever. And like I said, it won't be as,
Hard
trying to
to
break your
chew.
teeth off.
Yeah.
Now, deer jerky, I would probably say you might want to go 24 to 48 hours. So.
Yeah, I mean, I want kind of want that. You know how like when you go buy a bag of beef jerky at the store and it's just like you buy it and it's just like kind of like if you
Yeah.
I bought some before. It's more or less kind of like biting a big piece of steak and that hasn't been cooked or cooked to like shoe leather. I'm just like,
Well,
no.
and that's the other thing. So slicing is your other thing. So for deer jerky, I would probably slice that as thin as possible. And I know, we say, oh, we don't want to freeze meats. Excuse me. But that's one you stick in the freezer for just a little bit, just to get it frozen enough so you can get nice thin slices. The thinner the slice, then the marinade, and trust me, you're going to have perfect jerky.
Sounds good.
But, if you slice it this thick, you slice it this thick and then all of a sudden you don't marinate it or you just stick it in there, it's gonna, you're gonna be able to walk on those things. It's gonna be shoe leather. Zamara, how are you?
Good, Chef.
What do you got for us today?
So I have a question. So about the preservation assignment,
Yep.
we don't need jars, correct?
We're gonna be talking about that when we go through the recipes.
Yeah.
You should have jars, but you can, if you can't do it, there are other opportunities. You want non-reactive containers is the goal.
Okay.
But we will talk about it.
Let me tell you real quick though, best place to get jars, and I'm telling you, I had, people were, I'm not saying they were bowing down, but some of them were bowing down. The cheapest place to get jars is still $1.25 tree. They have the mason jars, and I'm telling you, it's so crazy because you'll go to a grocery store and you'll get a pack of 3, and they're like $4 or $5, and you go to $1.25 tree, and the same pack, if not a bigger pack, is $1.25. It's ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I saved a lot of people some headache in the last couple of classes. So yeah, $1.25 tree, best place to go. Stay away from Dollar General, because
Yeah.
the difference is Dollar General just keeps things at $1-ish price. So $1, $5, $10. $1.25 tree is still $1.25. Okay.
True. Thank
Any
you,
other
Chef.
questions? No problem.
No other question.
Matter of fact, $1.25 tree is probably the best place for you to get your pectin also. So get your jars and your pectin. Now, everything doesn't need a jar, but like I said, Chef Catherine's going to go over the recipes real quick, and she'll let you know what's best for what.
Let's go ahead and hop down in there right now.
Yeah.
All righty, let me pull this
What?
up
Whoa. Did you say 135, Norm?
with tax, he's saying.
Yeah,
Oh,
with tax.
Okay. Ooh, man. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought
No,
it's,
I wouldn't do you like that, so.
it's still the cheapest game around. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it still is.
I know there's a lot of people pissed off here. They were actually outside like boycotting. I'm like, 25 cents? Still. Tell me where you can get a Hallmark card for that cheap. But go ahead, Chef, because I'll rant all day about the silliness of that.
All right, let me pull this up. I just realized I had one thing that I was missing.
Yeah, I mean,
And here we go.
25 cents. And I mean, this store has been going since I was a kid. So, you know, an extra quarter is not going to kill me.
Exactly. So let's start this up right with pickling. All right. So I know you all made pickles in another class, but this is a different method. You're not going to be salting the cucumbers like you did in the last method. Okay. Salting and draining. That's an alternative to a quick pickling method that we're not doing. This is a quick pickling method that you could, in fact, go through the steps of canning if you wanted to afterwards. Okay. So what we have here, we're going to need, remember, this is for 1 pound of pickled vegetables. So if you want to reduce that in half, please do so. Okay. You're going to start off with 12 ounces of, again, your choice of vinegar or a combination of these, right? Remember, different vinegars have different levels of acidity. Some are really aggressive and sharp. Some are more mellow, right? We know that apple cider or red wine or white wine are a little bit more subdued than distilled white vinegar. So think about that when you're making it, right? What flavor profile do you want? Then you're going to take 6 ounces of water, 3 ounces of sugar, your salt, and your spices, pickling spices. We'll talk about that in a second. You're going to bring that to a boil just to dissolve the sugar and salt. All right. Now, you need 1 tablespoon of pickling spices. If you can't find pickling spices, or that, you know, it's $4 for a little small container, you can make your own. Pickling spices generally consist of spices such as mustard seed or cloves, black pepper. Sometimes you might find coriander seeds, whole allspice, right? Those are a little bit larger. If you want to go a little spicy, you could add some crushed red pepper flakes, a cinnamon stick if you want to keep on going that more sweeter note. Remember, you think about different flavors of pickles, right? Dill pickles, that's going to have fresh dill in there. It's going to have garlic, lots of black pepper, mustard seed. If you're doing a bread and butter pickle, it's going to have different spices and higher levels of sugar. Okay. So this is something that you can start to modify once you learn to master this basic one. But as I mentioned, if you cannot find pickling spice or just don't want to shell out the extra money for it, go into your cupboard, pick out what you have, think about the flavor profile that you want. Like I said, black pepper, mustard seeds, maybe you have some mustard seeds left over, some cloves, right? Whole cloves. You want to try and stay away from ground spices when making pickles because it's going to make your pickling liquid a little bit cloudy. Yep. Whole spices, First of all, they're whole, so they haven't been ground, so they don't lose their potency. It's easier to remove, and it's not going to cloud up your pickling liquid. So once you have that all together, you're going to allow that brine to cool. You're going to take your vegetables, right? A selection of carrots and beets could be nice together. Again, think about the density of vegetables, right? So carrots and beets are both really tough. Those two will work well together. Cucumbers are really soft, right? Those are gonna pickle a lot quicker. Green beans, okra, a little bit more similar, right? It also depends upon how you slice them, okay? Think about how you want to utilize that pickle. If you throw a whole pickle in, it's gonna take a lot of time for that pickle to actually mature, okay? There's a maturation point of a pickle. So you want to think about that. You know, are you making thinly sliced rings of carrots? Are you going to throw in some onions there? You know, you can make great pickled onions really quick and really cheap. A combination of some onions and carrots, some pepper, you know, fresh chilies, boom. You can pretty much, the other beautiful thing is you can pretty much pickle anything, but it's about the size that you're slicing it or dicing it or making into bâtonnets. Again, the thicker and bigger it is, the longer it's going to take for that vinegar to penetrate. Like Chef Eric was going over, that pickling, that brine goes in and it starts to change the product, okay? Changing that texture. So once that has cooled, you are going to pack those vegetables in, cleaned, peeled, and cut into appropriate sizes. And make sure that it fills up the jar, right? Or have a small jar. Try to figure this out. You need to make sure that that brine covers all of your pickles. Otherwise, you're only going to be pickling half or 1/3 of them. So you want to make sure that that brine fills up to the top, okay? Again, it should be in a non-reactive container. So if you don't have jars or not a hot heat cold safe jar like a mason jar that allows for those temperatures, you are cooling this already before pouring in, so you should be fine without using the proper glass, like Pyrex style glass. But you just want to cover that up so you can use a plastic container at that point as an alternative. Label and date that, put in the fridge at least 24 hours before you start munching on them. Again, it depends upon how large you slice or dice them. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? Norman?
My audio cut out when you were talking about the vegetables. What did you mean by the vegetables? Like, use all of them, or what'd you say? All I heard was something about carrots and beets and then okra and green beans.
You
That's
can
all
make a mixture or do individual batches of different vegetables. Just think about the density of the vegetable that you're using together. So like carrots and beets can work together because they're both really dense. Cucumbers are a lot softer. So you don't want to do that. Otherwise your maturation, your curing time, the pickling time is going to be, you're going to have some things that are totally pickled or over pickled and other things that are under pickled.
So you want something that the same vegetable is compatible with?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you got carrots and rutabagas. They can go together. Beets, because they have that, they're thick. They have that density. You want like something like okra and peppers. They're a little thinner. So if anybody does the baby peppers, and I just remember this from last class, if anybody does the little small baby peppers, my suggestion is don't cut them open and peel them, or and clean them out. Just poke a hole into them so that some of the brine can get inside, and just make sure that they're covered.
Yeah, otherwise, if you don't put a hole or a knife, a thin paring knife, just straight in, they're just going to float on top because they're sealed and they're not going to pickle properly.
Exactly. So yeah, and I had a couple of people disappointed last term.
Maiko.
Hi, Chef.
Hey.
To do this assignment, do we need to buy canning supply so we sterilize the jars?
Unless if you want to, you are more than welcome. I actually have a visual of what a canning supply looks like. I think this is it. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. This is like what a full canning, I would suggest experiment with canning first. I mean, pickling, and see if you're into this. If you ever really want to go hardcore, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at, a deep pot, a ring that the pot, that your jars go in so it doesn't have direct contact with the heat source, so it doesn't cook too much on the bottom, tongs to remove. But you don't need all of this unless you're thinking, hey, I love pickles and pickling and jamming and canning. I want to dive into this. Otherwise, you don't. But yes, for sterilization, obviously the proper way to do that is to boil those jars prior to packing anything in. And especially this is for if you're going to then do a proper canning, because anything that's in there, any little bit of bacteria gets stuck in there, right? And that's what causes a lot of spoilage. Otherwise, a good run through a hot cycle on your dishwasher and throwing that in, because these are quick pickles. You're not going to be storing these on your shelves. They'll stay in the kitchen, in the fridge for, 5 to 7 days and still have good, 10, if depending upon how thick you cut your veg, but you'll be fine with that.
Unless you
Okay.
have a significant other that's going to go and eat them, because that happened to 2 of my students. The kids raided the pickles, and they got a picture of them beforehand, but turned in their assignment, went to work, came home, 2 pickles in the jar. They were a little bit out of shape. That little black pot that was in that where you had that, that's what my grandmother used to use, that black pot right there.
Yeah.
That was it. That was her favorite. And she would just put the jars down in there. She already had the water boiling, and then she would just pour the water over the jars, let it do its thing. And then, see her
Good
when
to go.
she had the tongue. She didn't have the little thing that sits down in it. So she used to have her little tongue she would grab, and, and then my granddaddy would come in and show off and just pull jars out. That man he had them rough hands.
Oh, well, that sounds like fun. I might try that next time.
Yeah,
So-
give it your hand to go first at this round and then see if you want to take it to that next level. It is a great way, again, what Chef Eric was talking about. It's about preservation. So the harvest is coming in. There's a great deal on peppers. You know what? I'm going to pickle a bunch of those. Boom, you do it, right? That's what it is. It coincides with the harvesting, because you get that great, super fresh product, low price, pickle, preserve, and then they're stored in for later.
And who knows?
Do people? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do people pickle asparagus? Since we have so much of them now.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
pickle everything.
Yeah, just make sure. Ooh, another one of those things from last class. Make sure you cut off the woody pieces at the bottom.
Yeah.
So just make sure you trim it up good. I would peel it. You don't have to, but I would peel it. Like I said, students were doing everything.
Pickle an asparagus and a Bloody Mary. Like, hey,
Yeah.
there you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
sounds good.
Or in a salad, you've got it. Well, I could see like thinly sliced afterwards on a deviled egg. Served it up with, with some fried green tomatoes as a part of a, component of a dish. Lots of great things to utilize that for. Remember, pickles add acidity, right? That charcuterie board we just made.
oh yeah,
Pickles are a great component to add to that.
and
Okay.
whatever pickles you put on there, just think about the endless possibilities. You've got you got those rich cheeses, you've got the pate that you just made, you got your Rie, and now you need that acidity to just cut through all that fat. And it's like,
Mm.
Back in for more of that fat. Yes, exactly. It's what it does. It's a palate cleanser, right? It breaks that up.
There you go.
Mhm. Okay.
Like I
Thank you
said,
so
those-
much, Chef.
You're
Those
welcome.
pickled baby peppers are perfect to put on a charcuterie board.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All
And yet-
right. Sorry,
Yes,
Chef.
he had no, now I've got those cook hands, but no, he had those, like he literally would go in and grab a log from the fire and turn it over if he didn't feel it was getting enough flame. Like I said, he had
Got to do what you got to do.
he had those rough hands. Like you shake his hand and they were, you could probably strike a match on them easily. Okay, my favorite right here. Yep.
Strawberry preserves. Here we go. This one is again super simple, really straightforward. It's going to yield about 1 cup, 8 ounces of strawberries. If they're large, which most of them probably will be, cut them in halves or quarters. You do want to make sure you hull them. Hulling means taking off that green little top of the leaves. I've seen too many come back without that. Are those leaves edible? 100%. Not really in this manner. You don't really want to make pickles out of it, jams out of it. If you had mini, teeny, strawberries that are immature and you wanted to pickle those whole with the leaves, sure. In this application, you really don't want those leaves in there. So hull those leaves out, half or quarter, okay? You're gonna sprinkle that with sugar, okay? And let that sit overnight in the fridge. This starts a process called maceration. So you're starting to already start the process. Putting sugar in this is going to tug out all that water, right? And start to break down that strawberry, okay? Next, you're going to take that sugared fruit to a simmer, cook it until it's about a puree consistency, okay? Means if you need to mash that, you can. If you don't want to mash it, you don't have to. But let it cook down low and slow. All right. And then you're going to remove that from the heat, sprinkle the pectin over, stir that in. Okay. Put it back on the heat, another 3 to 4 minutes, and then add your lemon juice in. All right. At that point, you want to have a sterilized jar, fresh from the dishwasher or from a pot, and pour that in and seal, right? And refrigerate. Now, some of you might be saying, well, I can't find strawberries. All right, no problem. We've got a solution for you. This is what it's all about, pectin. All right. So for anybody who wants to or cannot find or is allergic to strawberries, my suggestion, go for some blueberries. All right. These fall into the category of group 3, meaning they need acid and pectin. When you have sour apples, you don't need pectin because they're full of pectin. All right. Certain vegetables and fruits have different levels of pectin. All right. And acidity. In order to get that structure from the finished dish. Otherwise, it's going to be really wet and loose and not solidify. All right. You could do figs, peaches, pears. Those I would say, blueberries, you've got strawberries, or whatever's in season, that's coming up cheap. Peaches and nectarines aren't really hitting right now, but you'll get a good result from these. And that's that for preserves. Any questions on making these fresh preserves, Norman?
So I more or less have a question on the jar. So you said, or I think Chef Eric said something about the jar if it was in the pot. So let's say we have the jar in the dishwasher, after it's all done. I have one of those tabletop ones, so it takes like an hour and a half, so everything's like done quicker than a regular dishwasher. After it's done with all that heat, can we just use that after we dry it out completely, make sure it's all good? Or do we still have to, after it's in the dishwasher, put it in the pot and sterilize it as well?
No, that's what Chef was saying. As long as if you run it through the hot cycle, once you take them out, so you want to run the hot cycle before you start this. Okay. So done. So right around the time when they're done, you just, you might have to shake it off a little bit, some water out, and then go straight to it.
Alrighty, thank you.
No problem.
This is what you're looking for, class and Roger. Oftentimes it's going to be called Sure Gel. Okay. That's the pectin. Look for that yellow box. It's going to be the dead giveaway that's what you're looking for. Some other brands, Certo. Yeah. Certo is another one that's pretty common. It's a powder.
Yep. This could be near the sugar. It's probably in the baking aisle, but it also, like I said, any grocery store, wherever the jars are. So the jars could be over by the toilet paper. I know here in Ohio at the Meijer, it's over by the toilet paper. And the paper towels. So just look, or Amazon Fresh. There you go. You can Amazon.
Is it Chef? Is it like Chef Eric? Is it like pre-gel?
Yeah, it's like the pre-gelatin starch. That's exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Like you buy pre-gel. Okay. I'll just.
Oh yeah, and like I said, if you go to Dollar Tree, I can almost promise you they've got it sitting right next to it. They have row of the jars, and then it's like a couple, like maybe two shelves full of Sure Gel.
All right, let's hop into,
My other favorite.
are we hopping into sauerkraut?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes. All right, here we go. So class, this is gonna take a few days, all right? This is not gonna be ready to go in 2 days.
thank
That
you.
is okay for the process of this assignment, but we do need to see at least 2 days on this process because we'll be able to know how it's starting to break down, okay?
In other
So,
words, start it Friday.
exactly. I would have this, especially if you're, either A, never had sauerkraut, not sure if you like it, maybe just don't like it. You just need, you can get a small head to start off with, all right? What you're gonna wanna do, take those, outer leaves that have little black spots from animals eating or that are yellowing, anything just not, or brown, high quality. Take that out, right? Take that core out, all right? Because you're not gonna be making a core, you're not gonna be fermenting this core either. Slice it in half, then a quarter, take the core out, and now you're good, right? Then you're gonna weigh it first, okay? Weigh that, or you can slice it first, either way, but you need to weigh your cabbage, okay? You wanna get this into nice fine shreds. Do not do it at 1/4 of an inch, at 1/2 an inch. It's not gonna have the right consistency. I mean, 1/4 of an inch is fine. 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch is better, all right? Work on your knife skills. Really nice and thin, little slices, okay? It's gonna start to ferment quicker. Again, we have a huge piece, it's gonna take longer to start to break down. Smaller, thinner pieces, it's gonna change that process quicker, right? Because you're increasing the surface area, all right? So once you have your cabbage cored, trims removed, and you have just the amount of cabbage that you're gonna be using, okay? You need to weigh that. Then you take the weight, okay? So say it's, 100 or 200, and you divide that weight by 40, okay? Remember, just keep it in the same group. So if it's grams, right, that's what we're looking for. Divide it by 40, and that's the amount of kosher salt of grams that you're gonna need.
Yep.
Okay, so take again, this is where people get confused. Take that cabbage that's ready to go, cored, trimmed, and ready. Weigh
Shred.
it. Divide by 40. That's the amount of salt you need. All right. Take that salt. My suggestion is rub it in a little bit, right? Don't be shy. This is going to break down anyhow. So it's just going to speed up the process. All right. If you just sprinkle it in and gently fold it, you want to massage it a little bit. Start that process. It's just going to start breaking that cabbage down a little bit quicker. All right. Now, once you've got that all combined, pack that into a container, non-reactive container. Again, that could be a plastic bowl, right? Preferably it's glass or ceramic. That's how traditionally it would be done. But again, if you don't have glass jars and you need to do it in an alternative method, a bowl does work, okay? And cover that top with plastic and then put a weight on top of there. You want that weight pushing down on the cabbage, okay? That can be as simple of taking a Ziploc bag and putting some canned products in there, or water, whatever, anything to press weight on top of the product, okay? This is gonna apply pressure, which is just gonna push on that, which is gonna make those juices leak and pull out from that cabbage again. All right, this draws out those juices and starts that process, okay? Now, you're placing it in a cool place, about 60 degrees. With 60 degrees, it's gonna take, probably 3 to 4 weeks for that to fully ferment.
Yep.
2 to 3, 2 to 4, depending. If you're getting up to a temperature of 70, right, it's gonna ferment quicker, right? Remember, we're thinking about temperature, okay? Fermentation stops when it's cold. The bacteria just stops, right? So you want to let it get to a fermented state. So you're going to start tasting it. Make sure you have a clean fork. Go in, taste that after 2 days. Taste it after 1 day. taste it after 2, taste it after, 4 days. You're going to start to see visual indicators. That green cabbage is going to start to turn a little bit more yellow, right? It's not going to be so crispy and crunchy. It's going to start to wilt a little bit. It's going to become softer. You're going to see that liquid is pulling out. All right. So that's the photo of that after 24 hours that we want to see, where we see a definite change in the process of that cabbage, where instead of just being bright and vibrant and recently chopped, we're going to see water being pulled out. We're going to see color just change and a little bit of texture change. So that's what we're going to be looking for. We don't expect it to be fully fermented because it just simply won't. 1 second. Let me just turn off. I have to close. There's the sun just came in and it is blinding me.
I can tell you real quick, you might see, as you see where it says it's going to start bubbling when the water comes out and it's going to start forming bubbles. You can see that anywhere from 30 minutes after you do that all the way up to 2 days. So don't freak out if it doesn't happen immediately. All right.
Exactly.
But keep checking it. That's why it's best to use what? A glass bowl, because you'll be able to see the water drawing. Now you'll see the water drawing out probably pretty quick. The bubbles, because I had people, chef, it's been in there for 4 hours and I don't see any bubbles. And it's like, no, calm down. Give it time. When I know I've talked to Chef Catherine, I know when I make sauerkraut, 2 weeks minimum, 2 weeks fermentation. I normally keep my house at about 70 during this time of weather. I know Chef Catherine's like at least 2 to 3 weeks.
Exactly.
So don't freak out if you don't get a reaction within a couple hours or even a day. It might be that second day and then you're like, oh crap, wow, I didn't realize. And like I said, the other thing is how that weight, and most people don't think that's important, but just like Chef Catherine said, that weight is helping because it's pressing down and compressing all of that. So the liquid that's building up, it's bubbling. I mean, it's kind of moving and it's getting to the top level of the sauerkraut. And it's kind of a rotational fermentation thing. But if you're not pressing down, don't get mad because the top isn't doing anything. Some kind of weight. Cans of tuna was one of the students had got the little gallon Ziploc bags, threw cans of tuna in there and weighed it down. And I'm like, okay, that seems a bit much, but you know what? His sauerkraut came out perfect. Matter of fact, I still hear from him about that sauerkraut. So make sure it happens.
And it's going to smell. It's going to start to get a little funky. All right. Remember, it's cabbage and it's fermenting, right? Fermentation doesn't smell sweet. It smells funky because there's action happening. All right. And then once it hits that, this is down the road, once it hits that taste and consistency and texture and flavor profile that you like, that has that nice balance of the two, that's when you throw it into the fridge, seal it, and you're done. It's going to stop fermenting at that point because that temperature is going to be dropping.
And it is going to be, for those who love sauerkraut, you're going to love this recipe.
Oh yeah. Sausages and sauerkraut, corned beef. I mean, whatever you want.
And what I've seen people do is after a couple, they'll taste it, get the assignment done, leave it in the fridge for a couple of weeks, just to or pull it out of the fridge and keep it fermenting. And then add sugar. Because some people like their sauerkraut a lot, a little sweeter. I'm from New York, so when we put sauerkraut on a hot dog, I want that bite. I want to feel it back here. So, Mikael, you still on the road?
Yes, sir, I am. How are you today?
I'm doing good. What can we do for you?
I'm a little confused as far as when Chef Catherine was talking about the weights. Is this in a bowl, or is she talking about with the weight once you transfer the cabbage into a mason jar? And
No,
if so,
when it's in the bowl.
oh, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Now, the one young man I'm talking about that did his, he used grandma's casserole dish, the little square glass Pyrex.
Okay.
He put it all in there. He put plastic over top. He actually put a piece of cardboard on top of that, which he said it got wet, a little wet. but he put that, then he put the weights. Because he was,
Yeah, I would just go like straight, like Chef said, put those cans in a gallon Ziploc bag and put your plastic film and then put that bag right on top.
hold on a minute. I think I'm getting a.
I'm just gonna mute you, Chef. I got you covered. Does that help, Mikhail?
Sorry.
Mikhail?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now I can. Are you good? Did that help?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I just kind of confused on as far as if you was talking about the mason jar with the weights, but yeah, you're talking about when it's in the bowl, correct?
Yeah, if you have a large enough mason jar with a wide mouth, you could put a can in there depending upon the size of it. Other students have done that. Really depends upon the size of your jar that you're executing it in.
Okay. All right,
But
thank you,
bowls
Chef.
work just as well.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chef.
You're welcome. Chef, you back? Don't worry. You just come back whenever. Roger.
I am back.
I think Mikhail, yes, pretty much what I was going to ask. I was asking about what to put it in. Could we put it in a mason jar? You said as long as the mason jar is large enough, but I'm thinking it's probably best to put it in a bowl. I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I would do it in
Can you
a
hear me,
bowl.
Chef?
Let's see if we can get a visual here, but it's hard to hear you, Roger.
Naika,
Same question.
if you don't like sauerkraut, find somebody who does.
Yep.
But try it. Trust me, because I know there's people. Oh, I don't like. Well. Oh, and do me a favor. Don't go out and buy some in the store. We'll be able to tell. Yeah, I had someone who they failed the assignment because they tried that one. That's easy to tell because the difference between this, like I said, anything you make homemade is going to look a lot different than what you see in the store. Okay, it's just like how many people crackers look like the ones they buy in the store. None. Your crackers looked a lot better because they were handmade and homemade. So homemade looks a lot different than regular. So we'll be able to tell.
Exactly. Here's a version, right, of a visual. Like you've got a large pitcher, essentially. There's plastic wrap here, a plate, and then another jar filled with water on top. That's just going to put all that pressure right there. That's, again, you could do this with a canned food. What Chef Eric was saying, you do this with a casserole dish. It's wider, larger surface area. But then again, the plastic, and then something, you don't want to you want to make sure you have some type of barrier, either that other Ziploc filled with the cans, and put that right in.
Because the problem we were having last couple of classes with the mason jars is finding something heavy enough to go, because really, and we did have one person tried to put a can of Pam. It's not going to work.
Oh, wait, there's no weight with that.
There's no weight. And most mason jars won't take, say, a can of, canned corn or something like that. The mouth's just not.
Yeah, the wide mouth ones that are pretty large will take it, but other than that, you're kind of up a creek. So yeah, Norman.
So is it exactly 2 heads of cabbage? The whole big old ones?
Like we said, you can always make half recipes. I would suggest reducing the quantity. It's going to make a lot of sauerkraut.
Yeah,
So
if you're not a fan of sauerkraut, use one, like Chef said, and half the recipe. If you're a fan of sauerkraut,
Go ahead and
Yeah,
make it,
no,
because
I'm
it's
not
going to
really.
take some time to get it.
yep.
Not really a fan of sauerkraut. It took me for years just to finally put relish on my hot dog. Even though I know it's just pickles that are just jumbled up.
I love relish.
Now I put relish in everything. On tuna fish salad, on everything, like I do with
Relish,
my
onions,
mustard.
and chili. That's all I need.
This is one of the next magical treats that you are going to be making. Creme fraiche. I'm gonna pull up a little visual, so in case you don't know what creme fraiche is, but it's essentially thickened cream, and it is divine. It's gonna have some similarities to sour cream, but far, far superior, okay?
It's cream's pretty cousin.
Yes, exactly. You're gonna get some body on this, right? It looks just like sour cream. And that's what you should be aiming for. All right. So in order to execute this, it's probably, I think, the easiest of these recipes, right? You literally basically do nothing. Okay. You do nothing. The bacteria does all the work. All right. 1 cup of heavy whipping cream and 2 tablespoons of cultured buttermilk, right? That's just the stuff that you're gonna be buying. And sanitize that jar. Again, like we said, you're either going to boil the water and sanitize or run that through the dishwasher on the hot settings. Let that jar completely cool. All right. Then pour the ingredients in, stir. Take a piece of cheesecloth, secure that with a rubber band, and let that jar sit for about 8 to 48 hours. Again, this depends upon the temperature of your kitchen. Until it thickens. Okay, you can just take that jar. You're gonna be able to look and see if it's thickening up. Sorry about the dogs in the background. And if you don't have cheesecloth, coffee filter does the job as well. String, rubber band, whatever. You just want that top on tightly so nothing goes inside of that. Again, really easy, really simple. But you do need, when you start that sauerkraut, start that creme fraiche. Do it on Friday night, do it tomorrow, so that you don't have to, you basically have nothing to do. It's just gonna sit there, but that'll give you the amount of time to see that it's thickened. If we don't see any thickening, we know that you just, give it a few days, wait. Otherwise you're not gonna get full points because it won't have set. All right, and we need to see that process so that we know that you're understanding the transformation that these products go through. All right, once it hits that thickening, that once it's thick, put a lid on it, throw it in the fridge. All right. Don't, throw it in the fridge until it's thickened. All right. But as you can see, cover with lid and refrigerate for 24 hours. That's when it's going to be ready to go after thickening, then another 24 hours in the fridge, and you're ready to go and have a delicious, delicious finished creme fraiche that you can do so many things with, garnishing soups.
Yep.
I mean, everything. Does anybody have any questions about that, Norman?
And those who think,
I mean, my
that
hand was
really
up
good,
from
Oh,
last time,
okay.
but I still have a question.
yeah,
But I still have a question though.
Okay, yeah.
So on the jar I'm visualizing, okay? Just imagine a jar you go and buy like olives from. I got that type of jar. I don't have any of those fancy mason jars anymore. So
Are
do
you
I
asking-
use that one or do I go to the $1.25 tree?
Just,
are you asking,
just
can
use the jar that you're, a sterilized jar. I will say pickles make jars smell though.
Mhm.
Unless you're properly washing, if you smell a jar of pickles that haven't been, an old jar that hasn't been properly cleaned, you will still see still smell pickles. So, if you don't want pickle smelling creme fraiche, make sure that your glass jar that you are using doesn't smell.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
for the creme fraiche, Jeanette, yes, you just put the cheesecloth or coffee filter on top. Because you just want, it's just a little bit of air that you want coming in to get that reaction. Once it gets thick, then go ahead and take that off, put the lid on and put it in the fridge. My suggestion is do the sauerkraut and the creme fraiche tomorrow, Friday. Don't do it tomorrow. Do it on Friday. Start both of them Friday. So that gives you tomorrow, the rest of today and tomorrow to go ahead and shop if you have to shop. Go ahead and do those two, knock them out because they're the two that just set. Your sauerkraut is going to set, anywhere from 2 to 3 days. Let it get nice and fermented. Your creme fraiche is going to set for 48 hours, get thick. Then you're going to put it in the fridge. Okay. Everything else, if you want to do it at the last minute, I suggest you do everything this weekend. Give it a couple of days to pickle, to actually pickle, so you can get something out of the technique.
Exactly. I'm just going to show, does anybody have any other questions? I just want to show you all one website that I'm going to share with Chef Eric. And if you want to put it on your class page, you can. I'm going to put it on our class page as well. This is pretty cool. We're going to be talking about more preservation next week. We kind of just started about it with produce, but this is awesome. This is a great resource. The National Center for Home Food Preservation. All your questions, almost all your questions are going to be answered here. If you start getting into it, right? Canning, freezing, drying, curing and smoking, fermentation, pickle, making jams and jellies, and storage. All right. So there's tons of information here. Like I said, I will put this on the class page. It's a cool resource. So if you want to get some more history and information on preservation.
Yes, but how many pecks did Peter Piper pick, La Priya? Ooh. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say none because in the movie he couldn't even get in because he kept hurting himself, if I can remember correctly.
So Peter didn't do it. It's
No.
a lie.
They just blamed it on his friend, Big Jim.
That's it. Any other questions? Excuse me. But please take the advice, because we've seen it. Make sure you start ahead of time.
Sauerkraut. Opening a container and setting something really, really heavy on top of it? Or are we putting it in a canning jar and doing it that way?
As long as you can fit, you need to be able to put a weight on top of your product and weigh it down. So whether if your canning jar has a wide mouth and you can apply a heavy enough weight, got a lot of background, I have to meet you. Got a lot of weight, then you can do it. If not, you just put it in a bowl, plastic wrap, and then put your weights on top of that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, class, knock this out. Like Chef Eric said, knock out that creme fraiche, knock out that sauerkraut, let it start doing its thing. You let that be.
Yep.
Then focus on making a quick jam and a quick pickle. Again, even though there are 4 recipes, these are really fast and easy. It takes a little bit of time, but it's inactive cooking time. The bacteria is doing its own work. It's creating the fermentation. It's thickening it. All right. The pickles, they're going to be sitting for a little while in the fridge, waiting to get delicious and ready. That jam, you're going to make that, cook it, cool it down, seal it up, and store that in the fridge as well. And you're ready to go. The beautiful thing, like Chef Eric was saying about making your own jams, jellies, pickles, just like a lot of these things, homemade and made from scratch, completely different world.
I'm telling you.
Oh, one other note while we have you before we're about to go. Week 10.
Yes.
All makeup work from 1 through 9. If you are missing anything, this is due in week 10, because what happens in week 11 is we ramp up to week 11, and within 3 days, you need to be turning in week 12, which is a mystery basket. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week, but you're going to be slammed. All right. We're going to be slammed too, because we're going to have week 11 and week 12 coming in basically within 3 days.
Yep.
All right. So again, I'm going to repeat this and say this one more time. It's going to be up on the class page. If you are missing any work from week 1 through 10, well, 1 through 9, it needs to be submitted by week 10. No excuses. This is the deadline, and that's it. You'll have had over 2.5 months at that point.
Get it in, because like Chef said, it's like Jason. Anybody who's ever watched Friday the 13th knows what I mean. Jason looks like he walks slow, but he walks you down, and that's what happens. You get your week 12 box at week 11. Your mind is not on anything else but what's in that box. you're not even focusing on week 11, even though you should have week 11 done or close to done. You're going to be focusing on the box. You're going to be asking a million questions. Chef, hey, well, what kind of greens are these? What's this? What am I supposed to use? How is it? Which of course we're going to, like I said, we're going to go through, we're going to lay all that out within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be able to focus because it's going to be moving so fast. Week 12 is a short week. That's what Chef Catherine means. It's not like we're kicking you out. No, it's not like we're kicking you out early. It's a short week. Week 12 is always the short week. So once you get your box, you actually want to get started on that as soon as possible because you're going to be sent vegetables and other stuff. You said, I'm guessing week 11 is long. It's not about it being long. It is about while you're working on that, you're getting your week 12 assignment, which needs to be used within a couple of days because you're getting fresh stuff from one of our farmers up here in Ohio. Yes, the week 12 box will be shipped to you.
On that note, if you have, sorry, Chef, but this is so important. We don't want to hear, oh, I didn't get my box. Well, I moved and I didn't update my address. If you have recently moved and you have not updated your address, not only are you going to miss out on this awesome box of vegetables, but you're going to miss out on paperwork being sent to you, your certificate once you graduate, lots of good stuff that you don't want to miss. So please contact the registrar's office immediately and update your address.
You know what? I've got something else that I was just given or re-given. If I can find it here real quick. If not,
So while you're looking, can I ask the question? When you say week 12, what month is that in?
It's in March. It's right before spring break.
Then we don't see you guys no more? Okay.
Okay, so I am sending, as Chef
Perfect.
said, contact registrar or directly contact shipping if you've moved. You don't need to contact anybody at this email address, but shipping, if you've moved within the last, if you've moved during this term, you need to contact them, let them know, give them your name, student number, and your new address. Because if you don't, you're not going to get your box. And then you're going to be calling, Chef Catherine, Chef Eric, I moved and I didn't say anything. No.
Oh, Norman said you all got an email to confirm your address. So check your inbox, check your spam box, check it
I
out.
think it was like
confirm it.
a month ago when they sent it out. I reconfirmed
Awesome.
my confirmed current one.
Yes.
But
But there were some
Cool.
people that moved after last class. Some moved after
yeah.
they confirmed it, knowing they were moving, which that, I don't know, totally boggled my mind. So you don't, trust me, you don't want to get caught up in that situation.
So Norman, what day did that email go out?
A month ago. I don't go by days. I just go by the day I get the email. I want to say somewhere in the beginning of February, like the first week, like 1st to the 7th. We'll say that. Maybe the end of January.
All right.
Thank you.
You're
We'll
gonna
be
have everybody
covering
scrolling.
the rest of these questions regarding the box. We'll be covering that later. We don't know what's in the box as of right yet. So I see Mikhail still has his hand up. What's up, Mikhail?
Today's the last day for the class.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the 28th.
28th?
Yeah, I want to say the 28th.
Yeah, 28th, something like that.
Not like we want to get rid of y'all, so we don't really focus on the date. See?
Yeah, but we're just
Okay.
giving you the heads up that it's gonna be, we're in the last leg. So
Okay, the 28th is on a Monday.
yeah, then that means it's the 27th.
Yep, 27th. Because it'll be that Sunday night at 11:59:59.
Remember, your week 11 class assignment will be due on Tuesday with a late period going to Thursday. That's it on week 11. You don't get extensions on that. And then your week 12 is due at the latest that following Sunday.
Yep. At 11:59:59. So
59. Yeah.
we get down to the microsecond here.
Yeah, slide that in.
Forgot the millisecond too, so
Yeah.
Oh, well, 59. So that's the
there you go.
right. Well, class, we got to get going. I've got to hop into another class unless, Chef, you want to hang out around
Nope,
more.
gotta run,
All
unfortunately.
righty.
Did you have anything, Roger? I saw you throw your hand up. Okay. Like I said, next week, you know, within the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about the box. Once we find out, and because the farmer always tries to send us by week 10, he normally tries to send us what's, you know, going to be shipped out in the boxes. So we'll let you know. We'll go over all the parameters and all that stuff, but we'll do that next week. Focus on this week and getting week 1 through 9. Some of y'all don't have to worry about that because you already got it done. But those who don't, got to get on that treadmill and we got to roll. Okay.
Exactly. Reach out with questions if you have them. Otherwise, Chef Eric will see you in study hall. I won't be there, unfortunately. I am hosting the Farm to Table event this weekend. So I won't be there.
I should
Sadly,
be there.
I know, Chef.
I will be next year, though. I promise you. I'm coming to Cancun.
You better. So please do reach out beforehand because I'm not going to be active on email for those like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to be, I'll get some photos though to send you guys all. But
they will be
reach
very
out.
busy from Friday on.
Yeah.
And remember, we don't work on the weekends, but those people that I have, if you have any questions, send them before Saturday, 5 o'clock. Because I always check my email at 5 o'clock on Saturday just to make sure if I have to open up an assignment or if you have any questions about the assignment. Okay. So everybody good? All right. You all have a great next couple of days. I will see y'all on Friday. Chef Catherine will be busy with a whole bunch of people because they sold that trip out. It's sold out. So they'll be down in Cancun, getting warm, having fun, and I'll still be up here in Ohio freezing for a little while.
Stay warm, Chef. Stay warm, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll catch you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.